All right, I want to break down this article. I want to talk about it because there's not too much happening today, and there's not going to be too much happening because of the Super Bowl. They're doing the NFL honors stuff today, so again, no draft pick or no trades are going to happen today. Nothing like that. Expect a trade most likely next week. That's what they're saying. But the Bears. This is a very interesting rumor. This was just a little less than 2 hours ago at the point of me recording this. A little over 2 hours ago, but. The Bears are rumored to be including Nick Foles in potential trade package for Carson Wentz. Now, before the few of you that watch me comment immediately about this, let's just break down this article because I kind of agree with it. Now, let's just go through it, okay? So, we got this guy, Robinson. This is the guy that we're talking with, Brandon Robinson. Caught a lot of attention on Friday when he tweeted that the Chicago Bears have the top trade offer out there on Wentz, and that hasn't changed yet. He further expanded on what he's been hearing about the Philadelphia Eagles quarterback's future during a Saturday morning appearance on 670, The Score, and we're just going to run right through it. So it's just, he's getting asked a question and then his answer. So the question he got asked here, we're going to just go through it. Do the Bears still have the top offer for Carson Wentz? Robinson replied with, "Not from my source. The last time I spoke with my sources when I tweeted the original report. But from what I've heard from other people I trust, they still have the top offer. They do. They still have the top offer, and I don't think that's going to change at all." And he was followed up with a question. "After your report, the rest of the afternoon and into this evening, there were subsequent reports. Just a lot of different stuff being thrown out there about said offer. What's the Bears' offer for Wentz?" And Robinson said, "So from what I understood, they had a second and a couple of other picks attached to it. But that was before the Colts came over the top and he offered even more, which means they most likely offered their first round pick and a couple other stuff. I'm not exactly sure what they offered, but I assume it was 2 twos. That's what he's assuming. I'm assuming it was a little bit more. So I'm assuming that the Bears are probably offering right now their first round pick, which is the number 20th overall pick, and future picks, which is probably a third round pick in 2022. Then he was asked this question here. "Do you think the first round pick would be only from the 2021 draft? Is that your guess? If they added another pick, it would most likely be a fifth or a sixth. It wouldn't be anything substantial." And then he went on to mention Nick Foles could be involved. And the guy from The Score asked him, "I'll say this. What they did a year ago with Foles, certainly not this route." So at least they're changing the process a little bit. With Foles, it looked like, let's just get an average quarterback and we'll be okay because we have an elite defense. And like you said, low floor but high ceiling for Carson Wentz. Robinson went ahead and said, "From what I understand, they're trying to get Foles out of Chicago with this deal. And that probably has to do more with Wentz and basically how he's a diva than it has to do with the cap, which Nick Foles has a $12 million cap hit on the Bears. They're trying to get that out, but if they're going for Wentz, they need to get Foles out regardless of the cap hit. With the perception that I've heard from Wentz, there's no way that Foles being on the team could possibly happen." Robinson also got into the Bears' motivation for making the trade, and The Score asked, "There were a lot of reports near the tail end of the season about Wentz and Peterson, and then they fire Peterson and they bring in a Frank Reich guy, so you can kind of connect the dots and say, okay, they were going to try and make this work with Wentz. What do you know about Wentz's personality and what he's like to deal with? Because Doug Peterson did not seem like a very tough guy to get along with. He kind of goes with the flow, and he was sick of listening to his bosses by the tail end." Robinson said, "Right. So what I found out recently is that apparently not everybody is aware of how Wentz is acting. And they still think that this is the guy from North Dakota that's even near this." This part makes me laugh. I'm sorry. What he actually is a diva in that locker room who's completely uncoachable under that staff and wants nothing to do with the organization. And if he was anybody else, like say Lamar Jackson or Russell Wilson, Cam Newton, you see where I'm going with this? He would be criticized. He would be getting criticized over and over, but because he's Carson Wentz, he's not. And the Bears want him. It's because the organization still believes, and I know this for a fact, that he still has generational talent. And the fact that he has generational talent and that they have a quarterback coach who's worked with Wentz, John DeFilippo, and had a great relationship with Wentz. Unlike the reports that were out there, and his best years were under John DeFilippo, they think that they could have some resurgence in his career because really he had an awful year. But when you consider how much distaste that he had for the coaching staff and everybody, and literally everybody around him, and him doing literally his own thing on the field, calling his own plays and making his own shots, anybody knows that anybody that knows anything about football and how it works, you would expect him to play bad. So they think if they can get everything right with him and move forward with the situation, they can get his career back on the right track. So here's what and this is Brandon Lee Gotton from the Bleeding Green Nation. So you can go read this article for yourself and dissect it as you want. It's a lot to unpack, but this is where he goes on to asking, how do you feel about the Eagles taking the Bears' first-round pick, the 20th overall pick in 2021, a 2022 third-round pick, and Nick Foles for Carson Wentz? And then there's the poll. I just went with A. I just wanted to see what the results were, and so far there's almost 4,000 votes. 50% of people give this an A. 6% give it an F. The majority of people approve of this and want it to happen. So we just need to wait and see at this point, because in my honest opinion, if the Eagles were offered this from the Bears, where the Bears were like, "Hey, we'll take on your huge amount of money that you have guaranteed to Wentz if you take Foles and the rest of his guaranteed money on his contract. He's a $12 million cap hit. You take that. You take the picks we give you. We'll take Wentz. Done. I'd go for it if I'm the Eagles. I really would. Unless if the Bears or the Colts offer something substantially better, this is what I would go with. Let me know how you guys feel about this. It's very interesting. It's probably the only Eagles news we'll get for a while today. And, yeah. I'll see you all later. Peace out, y'all.